So here we are. Let's start right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I think we've been rambling along and doing some talking a lot of nonsense before this. I don't know whether I'll keep all of this or not. Maybe not.
I
We'll
mean,
see.
it's outtakes, so let's go.
It's outtakes,
Yeah.
lah. Yeah. Thanks for doing this, right?
Yeah. No, thank you for having me here. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say though that for this episode, you're kind of a little bit of a guinea pig this time around because we're experimenting with a couple more additional cameras. So different camera angles. Hello. Hi, Mom.
Oh, okay. Should not bump the mic.
That's okay. Again, I can always RX it or just leave it in.
Yeah. All right. I mean, let's see. Hopefully, I have more than my usual, just like resting face here going on. We'll see.
For those of course, right, who don't know you, maybe just start by letting people know, right, about yourself, what you're doing, where you come from, where's your early background in music. I know, right? This is like taking
History. Okay, let's go.
Way back, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm Matt, and you may or may not have seen me in and out around the scene over the years. So I've played in a couple of bands. Currently, I am playing in Spooky Wet Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I am the guitarist and producer. I won't say lead guitarist because we all share lead work now on the latest album. So I'm just going to say guitarist and producer. Prior to this, I spent 10 years in a metal band. That's how I met you when we came in. We actually recorded here in 2105. We did some vocals here. I think if you remember, I'm not sure if you remember this, but this is one of my fondest memories. We did the clean vocals first, and my vocalist in that band, Scott, one of my dearest and oldest friends, he kept screwing up takes. So I just kept telling him, no, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. And we would do this with the clean vocals, right? And eventually it was like, okay, it's time to do the screams, right? And he had all this built up rage. And, we just gave him the SM58, but I'm just going to play the song, or you're just going to go. And he just did a one-take wonder. And right at the end of it, I don't know what he did with the mic. The mic cable fell out right at the end of the take. And we were like, how? How? That's actually what happened, like just right there. I remember this very clearly.
I don't remember this, or it's just like it's too many things in my head that
you've
everything's a blur.
You've recorded so many artists here. So I mean, like, I'm not surprised if it's like whoosh.
But of course, Scott. I remember Scott. Shout out to Scott, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
Hey,
right?
Scott.
How's that band doing?
Yeah, so we disbanded, kind of. Like, we went on a hiatus and then kind of inactive, kind of disbanded, kind of not really, because, we had like member troubles over the years, right? So, we started off with one lineup, then we changed bassist multiple times. Our last bassist was a MacBook Pro because the MacBook Pro's predecessor got caught up in a really, really nasty scandal. So we had to just drop him for his membership. I don't want to go into too much detail about that one. We changed drummer. We changed my other guitarist. We changed guitarists multiple times until we landed on Mahesh, who was who stayed with us for like years.
Who I met the other day, right?
Yes,
right,
he was here. So okay. So you've leaked it. We're kind of making some music, I guess, back together, but it might not be metal. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later on. I'll circle back to that later on.
Yes, do that.
So about Spooky Wet Dreams. I think the first time that I actually saw you guys, when did you join them?
Right. So I first met Spooky, I think 2015 or 2016.
Yeah. That
time they were doing their Cold Pizza Party EP and a tour with it, and they were really active in the gigging scene. I met them. I really liked them. So, we kept in touch. Fast forward to about 2017, they've had a couple of member changes as well. Their lead guitarist, before that, I've been telling them that I wanted to work with them as a producer. So I worked with them on Ipo Girls, which was their single, which is still until today the most played song on Spotify. It is also, every time we go to Ipo, we have to play the song, can't run. So the band, that was our first song together. And prior to working on that, the band was like, how a lot of musicians, when you start, you're like, oh, and if everything must be analog. I want real drums. I want real amps. And that was the first production, right, where, I introduced them, like, we can just use samples. We can just use digital amps. And really, no one's going to really be able to tell the difference, right? So long as you mix it right and you produce it right. So they didn't believe me. I said, come on, let's just work on one song together, see how it comes out.
Yeah.
And that song was Ipo Girls. The guitars and the basses are real. The voices are real. The drums are all sampled. The keys are pretty much synth patches. A lot of production for that song was done in the box.
Yeah. And it just goes to show in the end, it's all about the song. It's about the performance and the delivery, right?
Yeah, it's really what it comes down to.
Not so much gear are just tools to help you. They either make the job easier or they make it the job harder. That's all. It's just tools.
Yeah.
Toys to play with.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. The first time I saw them though, right, performing, definitely Z was front and center, of course.
Yeah.
You can't miss Z, right? Okay.
His energy is infectious on stage, yeah.
But I don't think you were part of the band yet. This was probably around that time, 2015.
Yeah,
16.
so that was before me. So Spooky released their first album in late 2018.
Yeah.
So I joined the band in late 2017. In between the releases of Ipo Girls and Ini Sekolah Bukan Kilang. So in between those two singles, I started producing for them. The lead guitarist left and then they said, hey, since you produce for us, would you want to audition for the lead guitar role? So I'm like, sure. I went for a jam session with them, learned the songs, jammed with them, and the very next day they were like, hey, do you want to join the band? I'm like, yeah, sure. Because at that point, I'd spent almost 10 years playing exclusively in metal bands. So I was like, yeah, it would be nice to return to my roots and do something non-metal this time. Yeah.
So we'll circle back. I'll circle back maybe to, Spooky's new album, which, right, it's an awesome album. I think a lot of people love it. Critically acclaimed. Wow,
I'm not sure about that one. We haven't hit with the critics, but partially produced in this studio right here.
Oh,
Some vocals are actually done in this room, like literally this room.
It was a pleasure. It was an honor to have you guys around. It's fun to just like hear little snippets and to hear some of the teasers of some of the songs which you guys were kind and nice enough to share. It was like, when I heard some of the I think especially the one, the Corn Cake Hotel, that one. That was so fun, right? It's like, this immediately became my favorite song of the whole album, really.
I know, you gave us like a 5-star review just from that one song. Not even before the album's out, it's like JD had a seal of approval. He tweeted, he was like, yeah, track 5 is the best track on the album.
Again, that's because heavily biased towards that. Yeah, but I think the story of how you guys made the album, right? The process of making it, the whole production process is very, very interesting, and it's a good story for you to share. But we will get around to that afterwards. Yeah. To bring us back into track again, how did you get started in all this?
Right. So I actually have to give credit to my older sister. So this is really, really weird, right? So most people will be like, yeah, give credit to my older brother or my cousin. Mine, no, it's my older sister, my only sister. When she was 13 or 14, she decided she wanted to learn how to play the drums. I don't know why. I don't know what inspired her. But because my parents love her a lot more than they love me, we had a drum set in the house because of her. And that little MP3 player, the one you buy from the Pasar Malam that you USB into the computer and transfer. So it's basically a glorified USB stick, that little one. So we had that.
Yes.
If I can send you a picture for it, you can just edit it in later. But yeah, that MP3 player... earphones and AC/DC. So yeah, I just like, after school, nothing better to do, sit in the room and bang away on the drums when no one else was using it. So that's how I got my start as a musician. I was just learning how to play whatever songs I felt like listening to. Whatever I had ripped off LimeWire, please don't sue me, thank you. But yes, that was really what it was. That's how I got my start as a musician. Then,
so is that drum kit still around?
No, I have no idea what happened to it. So
it ended up that you were the one who used it more.
Yes, I would safely say so. I think my sister used it more for like the first 6 months, and after that, it unofficially became my drum kit.
Yeah.
Then I went overseas to study, and my parents sold the drum kit, and that was I've never seen it since then.
Right. But yeah, shout out to your sister then.
Yeah, shout out to her. She definitely got me to the start in music, I guess. Yeah.
So there was never any formal education in terms of music?
There was, but I will unashamedly say that I failed grade 2 piano. So a lot of music, I feel, really comes down to inspiration, right?
Yeah.
So typical Chinese parents, they'd be like, you've got to learn piano or some form of traditional instrument, right? Like now I regret not learning piano because it makes my life in production so much harder. Whenever I do like chords, I'm actually manually drawing in the MIDI for the chords instead of just doing that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so my parents got me to try learn piano. I passed grade 1, went to grade 2. I failed grade 2 piano, which is, not very Asian of me. But, that was some form of formal training. So when I did pick up the drums, my parents tried to send me for drum classes because they assumed you had to take classes for everything. By simply mimicking what I was hearing from artists like AC/DC or whatever was on the radio at the time. So this was like the early 2000s. So you would have like Puddle of Mud. You would have all the pop punkers. So you'd have like Blink. You would have Sum 41.
Yeah.
By mimicking whatever I was hearing from those songs and just trying to recreate it just by myself and figuring it out, I learned a lot more than I actually did. During classes.
Correct.
Because in classes, they were like, obviously they were teaching you the basics. Like you have to count, how to count eighth notes, 16 notes, how to keep time. And they were like, oh, you have to plan out your drum fill and write it down and play what exactly you've done. I'm like, I'm not learning to be a jazz drummer. And even in jazz drums, just basically be like, just do a fill here. And they'll just be like, freestyle, just do whatever you want at this point. They'll just leave a bar blank on the sheet music.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There was some formal training. It gave me a little bit of the basics. But the majority of what I know is self-taught or unashamedly YouTube videos where they teach you how to use things like the circle of fifths and all sorts of other techniques.
Yep. So yeah, basically a lot of things was self-taught lah. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it is self-taught, yes.
So fast forward going overseas and that's my bad. My phone is the one that's ringing out. It's my little alarm. That's my kid over there. And Google is also going to make some noise. I might just edit all this part out later on. Okay, so back to where we were. Right. Sorry for the interruption.
And I was worried my phone was going to ring.
See, there has to be a screw up where every single episode. Otherwise, this won't be a.
We'll fix it in post. It's fine.
Yes.
Every producer's nightmare, but yes.
Fix it in post. Magic of editing. Poof! This never happened. Okay.
Yep.
So then you went overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was around. How old were you by then? No.
So, so I got sent overseas not for college, but for high school. So my parents decided that they wanted to fast track me. So I got shipped over from 2005 to 2007. I studied in America for those 2 years, and I basically finished off high school there. Yeah. So an American high school diploma is more or less your A-levels, kind of. So after that, I just went straight to college, straight to uni after that. Yeah. So those 2 years actually were also very, very huge to my development in music. Because for those of you who don't know, I went to an all-boys, Christian, military boarding school. Yeah.
Wow.
No social life. No social life. It's a 1-hour drive to the nearest city. We were literally just woods. Yeah. It's just like woods school, right? So while I was there, when I landed there, I was just fresh off, doing all of the learning how to play the drums and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, the school has a marching band. Let's join the marching band. Yeah. And that's, how I learned a bunch of stuff. I got exposed to something that naturally here in Malaysia, you would not get the opportunity because there's not a lot of schools here with marching bands. My first year, I was just doing bass, right? And you have like a 4 or 5 man bass line. So you have to learn timing, how to count. You're marching while playing. And all of this timing is just going in your head. And for those of you who have never played in bass lines, the hardest drum to play is actually the second bass. So in order of size, the second smallest one. First is the smallest, fourth or fifth is the biggest. Because the second one, you never start the fill. The fill either starts from the bottom or it starts from the top. So if you're playing one of those middle drums, you're basically counting the offbeats and you're playing the offbeats.
I can see how daunting that is, yeah.
Yeah, and also because, I was a late bloomer, so my growth spurt only hit me while I was there. So you can imagine this. You've seen how marching basses look like. The bass was bigger than me. Yeah. And my first year being the new guy, they made me carry like the bigger ones. Then eventually they're like, oh, actually, you know how to count here. Take a smaller one so you don't break your back, halfway through the year. Then while it was there, also one guy who lived on my hallway was super, super, super into 80s hair metal and hard rock. So this actually comes up to something that we were just discussing right before we started taping, right? What you listen to in your youth is large, especially in the pre-streaming era, is largely dictated by whatever your parents listened to. So my dad was huge on the oldies. He loved his Sinatra. He loved his Beatles. He loved the Bee Gees. Oh my God. Yeah, my relatives love the Bee Gees. We hear it in karaoke every Chinese New Year. But yeah, because of that, I was not really exposed to this 80s long hair, rock and roll, because in Malaysia, you had the whole anti-rock and roll movement going on. My parents were quite conservative. So I got introduced to that when I was 15 years old in America. And I just went, whoa, what is this? And because of that, my first ever bass guitar is a BC Rich Warlock because of the spiky, pointy shapes. Yeah, right? And from there it grew, it was like I listened to Guns N' Roses, listened to Warrant, listened to Rat, Poison. Then from there it went on to heavier things, your stereotypical big four of trash. Then after that, I started delving deeper and deeper down the slippery slope of metal until eventually I'm listening to music that most people on this podcast would not listen to. Yeah, what my mother belovedly calls satanic or demonic music, but really it's not,
Yeah, that's very, very true. A lot of the content and subject matters of a lot of these metal bands that you really listen to it and what their words are saying, they're actually really, really, social commentaries, really good, constructive, positive stuff. It's just the medium of how it's presented.
Method of delivery.
Yeah, that's all, just how it's expressed. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not even sure if he's ever going to watch this. I'm not even sure if he's still on Facebook, but Jason Suxer, shout out to you because you're the guy who you shared that MP3 and CD collection with me and I ripped your entire CD collection. So that's what got me into like the rock and roll side of things. That's where I was like, hey, I'm going to learn how to play the bass. I'm going to learn how to play the guitar. So that's really where I started picking up a lot of music sensibilities of what I play today, like and bands that I listen to as well.
Was there a point in time, was it during that time where it's like there came a point where you sort of realized or you told yourself that, hey, this is something that, I want to be doing, or you envision that, hey, this is something I really want to be doing for the rest of my life, or something I want to get into seriously?
I mean, it's always been a pipe dream, but the reality of it, I mean, having high expectation Asian parents they don't let that dream live for very long, So when I was like, hey, I have a band with my friends that's, you start a band, you have no idea what you're doing, you're just banging on the drums, making horrible, horrible noise, but that's the only way you can learn, right? So we did that in my late teens. There was this pipe dream that, we would be able to record a song, the song would be good, it'd get us some radio airtime, and then things would just start to grow from there. But, there's always this pipe dream that it will happen at some point.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is that a very, very small percent of us manage to make this your full-time job.
That's right.
So even for music, even for production, I have a day job that I go to 9 to 6. I came here right after work.
Yeah.
We had a quick bite together. Then now we're in the studio doing this. That pipe dream really has not gone away. It's still in the back of my mind, just very silently there, just be like, what if, maybe this song could make it. But at the same time, right now, one thing that I've realized that if you just make music without having this expectation that this next song has to be good, right? Once you remove that expectation, you go back to the roots of it, the pure joy of making music, which is actually what we did on the Spooky album.
Yeah.
You strip away all this expectation. You just go, let's just write music that we enjoy, music that's something that we would want to listen to in the car, something we would want to listen to on a rainy day, different emotions. You just go right back to the core of that. It's so much more better. It's so much more fun. It's so much more fulfilling experience.
Those wise words indeed. Yeah, it's really, really well put. Really, really well put. I think you're absolutely right. Reality is that for most musicians or people who have that dream, reality is that, it's hard to be able to do this full time. It's not going to pay the bills unless you are really, really lucky, right? Or you really get into a position or a situation where you're really able to make it a full-time career. I mean, I count myself really, really lucky that I was able to do this as a full-time thing. But the reality of the fact is that for most people, it's not really an option. I would not wish my kids to be taking the same path as I'm doing. Okay, it's like, don't do this, okay, right? For your own sake, for your own
Sanity.
Yeah, sanity and your happiness and all that. Your experience is a very, very valid story to tell as well. You know that, hey, you musicians out there, you know, yeah, you can have a 9 to 5 job or 9 to 6 job.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, shout out to Kyoto, who will be sharing a stage with this weekend as well.
Yes.
Like, Fuad is an investment banker, I
Correct,
believe, or
yes.
something along those lines.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. He's in
like
the fund,
all
yeah.
of them hold insane 9 to 5 jobs, really
Exact-
taxing stuff. But these guys still play shows, they tear up stages,
Yeah.
and they still write amazing music. You know,
Yeah.
so I mean, like I feel that is the story for the overwhelming majority of musicians in Malaysia, right? For
Yeah.
those who don't get, who don't, you know, make it and be able to live off, like, you know, the sponsorship deals or whatever they get. Actually, that's actually the truth, right?
Yeah.
You don't, in Malaysia as a musician, I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong, the majority of the famous musicians actually don't even make the most of their money off the music. They make it off the image, the persona that they've created. So it becomes then, you know, sponsorship deals, endorsements, and things like that. It's the source of income is not really the music itself.
Not really. It's just a platform to launch you to other things, you see, to other revenue streams lah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that. Not. I mean, it depends if it's in publishing. If you really have a huge hit song, then yeah, there is potential there.
Yeah.
Right. You know, or if it's something that gets used in sync, for example, with TV or video, then yes. But again lah, you're talking about a field of how many artists. You just look at Malaysia alone, or if you look at I think the latest stats now with how many uploads a day digitally on Spotify.
Yeah.
Right. The last stats where they calculated was 60,000. Now it's 100,000 a day already. That's how many. 100. Oh, hang on a second. I have it correct. It's either 6,000 or 10,000 or 60,000. Okay, whatever.
There's a zero.
There's 1 0 there. Okay, someone
we'll flash it up in post.
Yeah,
Just put a number.
someone will fact check me later on whether it's, you know, an extra zero or not.
Just flash the number right here in post.
Now that you do that, now I have to do it in post. Because usually I'm a little bit lazy to do all these things.
No, I mean, we've got an extra camera guy. Shout out camera guy. What's up? So, I mean, yeah, we've got extra angles today, so might as well make the most use of it.
So, I mean, again, super fascinating, very, very valid story and experience for everyone. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing this is to, you know, sit down with, you know, different musicians, producers, engineers, whoever they may be behind the scenes. You know, yeah, I could always talk to the famous celebrities and all that. But for me, I'm just fascinated. I'm more fascinated to hear what you have to say, what you have to share, because somewhere, right, later down the line, there's going to be a kid out there and they're going to learn that, hey, you know, there's this pathway that's possible, and it does not necessarily involve having to be a full-time practitioner in the industry, so to speak. You know, that you have to study a music degree or get a music diploma and get your full-on formal qualifications to get into, and to do what you love, right?
I mean, I did. By degree, I'm actually a producer.
Correct.
But
right.
I don't do anything related to production anymore. I mean, aside from
what you do with
Spooky and whatever little you know, passion projects I have running on the side. But yeah.
So the interesting thing would be for a lot of producers, right? Or most typically always start as musicians first. Like I myself start off as a musician, but you eventually get that. You get bitten by the studio bug, so to speak. That you've suddenly found that, hey, you know, you've got that interest to be on the production side, to be on the creative side of things.
Right.
How did that happen for you?
Right. My first band, right? So it was me, Scott, and 2 other friends, James Ho and Long. We just call him Long. He's really long. He's really tall. We just call him that.
Just clarify, this is ARC or Roofless?
This is the predecessor to
predecessor.
ARC.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So this is before we turned metal. We were rock band.
Right. Okay. Right, yeah.
So we went to record a demo in the studio, right? So we kind of had an idea of what we wanted to sound like because we were benchmarking ourselves against 2000s radio rock. We're like, I want to sound kind of like this. And we went into the studio and we booked some studio time. I said, hey, we want to record a single. We have a single. So we went in, and the engineer, because we were nobodies. We hadn't played any shows, anything. We thought, let's record a song first, put it out, and then we can go and look for some shows and things like that.
Yeah.
Because back then it was still MySpace, Bandcamp, that kind of stuff. So we put a lot of Reverb Nation. You remember that? So our thought was put all the songs on these kind of things and push them out. We went there. The engineer was not helpful. You know how they always say, like, if you know you're working with a newbie band, yes, they probably don't know what they want, but work with them. Try help them find their sound, kind of thing. This guy did none of the sort. He just said, okay, there's an amp, it's plugged in. Plug in your guitar here. Didn't even let us touch the knobs on the hit. He set the guitar tone for us.
Okay. Right.
Bass, we were like, how are you going to record bass? He's like, just DI it. We didn't even get an option of experimenting with bass tone, even though we'd booked out studio time. We were like, how are you going to do drums? He was like, yeah, the drum, everything's just pre-mic'd up. I'm like, can I move drums around? So I was like, I use a 3-tom setup. You only have 2. Can I just add the 3rd tom back? No, we only record with 2 toms. I'm like, excuse me? So it was a really rough experience for us, that first recording. And it's probably on one of my hard drives somewhere. I don't know if I can find it anymore. I still know how to play the song, so I might recreate it one day. One day. But it was such a negative experience for us that I came out that session determined to learn how to do this whole producing thing myself. Because I'm like, if this was my first experience in a professional studio in Malaysia, I was like, what? I want to be able to control how I can sound. I don't want some dude dialing in a guitar tone that I'm not happy with. I don't want some dude dictating what drum setup I should use because, it just didn't make sense. So that was what started me off with it. So I started learning how to self-produce. I bought a little pedal that gave me a free copy of Cubase LE way back. This was 07, 08, around there. Then that's just how I just used YouTube, online forums, as shout out to Sound on Sound, because I learned a lot from them. That's how I just figured out how to start layering my own tracks, how to do editing and doing all sorts of things together, just putting everything together, using all of that. So that was what really bit me with the bug. But then I stagnated. That's the weird part. So after I learned how to do arranging and all these kind of things, I sort of fell down the trap that a lot of young musicians do, and I just became sort of like a pseudo-purist where I'm just like, oh, if you can't play this live, you should not record it. Your recording should sound exactly like what you do live. You're not allowed to use, pre-recorded layers and backing tracks and all these kind of things when you play live. So I fell into that mentality, and that was a trap for a couple of years. Now I'm like, hey, if the drummer can play to a click, let's just, throw in like a million layers into samples and play it back on a backing track. It gives a better experience to the crowd. Yeah, I fell into that trap for a couple of years. Yeah, that was bad. I set myself back a couple of years by being a purist. But in the end now, I think every band or every musician, if you take your craft seriously, you will get that producing bug at some point. Eventually, it will happen where you reach that point where you treat the studio as an extra member of the band. You treat the studio as an extra instrument, if you will.
Yeah.
But on the flip side for that, this has never been a better time to be a producer because there are so many mix-ready tools now that you can use to drop stuff in. So a lot of the plugins that I use now from my digital amps, from Neural DSP or sample packs or even cab sim packs from Get Good Drums, which is what I'm using now. It takes me 2 seconds to set up a tone, and then I just track. Because
it's record ready.
It's record ready.
Mix ready. Yeah.
It's mix ready. Yeah. So you don't waste time being an engineer. So that was the other trap that I also fell into a lot. It was, you get so caught up trying to make this one sound out of like the thousands of sounds in that one track. You're just trying to perfect this one sound, whether it's chasing a snare tone or whether it's, trying to get that tom, trying to ring out the resonance on the tom. So you're just looking at that one thing and you lose sight of the bigger picture. So having all these like mix ready samples, all these mix ready plugins, you just drop it in, load a preset and go to town. This lets you focus on the songwriting.
Correct.
Which ironically is why a lot of artists now, and some people that I know, they are actually, for synths, they don't even use software synths anymore. They buy all these analog old 90s Casio synths and whatever. They play this, they record that live in. Because they say that that way they don't break the creative process. They don't move from a songwriting mindset to an engineering mindset. And that's also one of the big struggles.
Yeah. And so, that's always a balance that you have to strike, lah. Being able to manage both the macro and the micro.
Yeah.
So there are times where it's good to micromanage and to look at all the details, but very important, you said, right? Don't lose sight of the big picture, lah.
Yeah.
The songwriting and all those other elements which make up what the song eventually will be. I've been down that road, right? Chasing that. This tuning, right?
Looking for that resonant frequency.
Yeah, that's the story of my life. Like when if I record live drums, it's like that. Sometimes you need to, we need to just dampen this a little bit here and there.
Just one more moon gel on the snare.
Yeah, it's valid. I'm sure there's times where, you need to have and to analyze things with a microscope, but there are always times to sit back, right, and take a look at the big picture. Very important. Yeah. So, did you ever had any formal education in this aspect with music production?
Oh yeah. I went to SAE, which no longer exists in both Malaysia and Singapore. Ironic. So the two certs I have are from schools that no longer exist.
No, but it should still be valid. Right?
It's still valid.
Yeah, SAE, Malaysia, right?
And Singapore. So I did the diploma here, the degree in Singapore.
Right. Okay. Yes. Why did you do that? I'm just curious. Why the diploma here and then the degree there?
Because I was actively playing gigs in a band here, so I figured I might as well, do it here. And because the local course was part-time, so I was also doing a lot of freelance work around that time. So I figured, let's just take a part-time course. I just block off a couple hours during the day every week, go in for classes, do my assignments, and then I can still keep gigging. I can still keep doing my freelance work during that time.
Right. And the Singapore, when you went up to finish the degree,
it was about a year. So I just pretty much didn't work for a year. I just went there, did my degree.
Did Singapore SAE allow you to do part-time, or was it purely a full-time?
Singapore doesn't allow foreigners to do part-time.
Right,
so
correct.
I have this really funny story from back then. So segue for a little bit.
Yes.
Do a Family Guy cutaway. Yeah. So what happened was basically Singapore's really strict on immigration law. They don't want to allow foreigners who are on a student visa to work part-time. So therein came the extremely dumb thing. In SAE Singapore, we had classes, I think, 3 or 4 days a week, and then the other 1 or 1.5 one day, you can do whatever you want, unless you're a foreigner.
Yeah.
So as a foreigner, Singapore immigration gives you this ID tag, which you have to tag in to a machine that's in the school. So those of you who have ever been to SAE Singapore know of its existence are starting to get a idea of this. SAE Singapore was in Clarke Quay, CBD, central downtown. That's where accommodation's the most expensive.
Yeah.
So the problem is, whether or not you have class, you have to travel down, tap in the morning between 8 to 9 a.m.
Every day,
and tap out at 5 to 6 p.m. Doesn't matter whether you have classes that day or you have a day off. So if you're living all the way out on East Coast, Pasir Ris or Northeast Punggol, where the rent is cheaper, guess what? You still have to transit in every morning.
Yeah.
And it costs money to transit back. So what do? You transit in and you literally just sit there in the CBD doing nothing for the whole day, and you have to tap back out in the evening.
Right.
So it's really, really dumb. But the reason why they did that is so you can't take up part-time work. Because they block off the core hours where you would have taken up a part-time job.
Sounds like a huge pain in the ass.
It was a pain.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, Singapore, you don't want I mean, you're there on a student visa. You don't want people on student visas working. So
Yeah.
that was one way of doing it. But
to put all these other, these other hoops and hurdles that you have to jump and over and go under just to study there.
yeah. No, so I actually did the math. So this was years ago. So I'm not sure if this math holds up, especially with all the inflation now post-COVID. But I actually did the math. It cost the same amount of money to stay in downtown than it did to live out of town and commute to every day to tap in. So after doing the math, I was just kind of like, you know what, screw it. I'm just renting a place in Chinatown, which is a 15-minute walk from Clarke Quay. So I stayed in Chinatown.
I have to check, because another person that I know, a good friend of mine, don't know whether you know Adrian Liew.
Adrian Liew, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
he also SAE Singapore.
He's several batches my senior, I think.
Yeah. But he went straight away there because his rationale was that in Singapore, SAE, you could fast track the whole thing.
Correct.
It was a lot faster than doing it here lah. And maybe that was his rationale. Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't have a band that was actively gigging and I didn't already have a good supply of freelance work that I was doing here,
correct,
I would have likely done that, or I would have gone to SAE Australia maybe,
right,
Byron Bay or Melbourne, which a few of my other friends did. Some people I know went to Melbourne or Byron Bay, so I could have done that.
Yeah,
but I chose to do it.
Yeah, you always have to weigh, what you have, your options and all that. Huh?
Yeah.
Back here, this would be around what year now?
15.
To 2015. Right.
Yeah, about the 2015.
And then this is where it all connects back to all that.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. And all through that time also, once I came back, I just started doing more freelancing work as well. So
nice, yeah.
I was contracted to Village Roof Enterprises for a short while, Village Roof all the way in near Tropicana. So I worked with them for a little over a year, I think. But the rest of it has been a lot of freelance work or it's just me and then I just rent a space like what I've done here as well. Yeah, I did some freelance work for corporate jobs like just engineering for voiceovers, Foley for ads and things like that.
One of these things which is always, for me, it's quite a topic which I have quite an interest in. It's career guidance and career path advice for people who are studying, music and audio. And the way that you describe it, like after you finished graduating at SAE, was it hard to get a job?
You needed to know where to look for the jobs. That's definitely one thing. Being involved with entertainment, music, all this for so long, it definitely comes down to connections and who you know.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier to get the jobs. But to say in the context of there were no jobs, that's not true. But there were jobs, but some of them I tried and I didn't get. Some of it, just weren't viable. For example, one of the jobs that was open, you become, the sound and events guy for a hotel in Langkawi. So you're the guy who's rolling out the speakers for like the beach, DJ on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, or the kid's birthday party.
Yeah, or you were doing, again, a lot of it was actually hospitality related. You become the sound man for Hilton KL. Whenever they have ballroom. The ballroom's booked out, you're the guy who's helping them set up the lights and the sound system, or facilities. A lot of it was facilities management. I do believe, your universities also had them. So I think there were also positions open in Sunway University, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And speaking of universities, even Singapore, there was I had an opportunity to be like facilities management at a university in Singapore, but I applied for that. I didn't get it because, again, Singapore with their restrictions on hiring foreigners. So if there is a local who's suited for the job, he's definitely going to get it over you. I believe Malaysia's kind of more or less the same as well. Yeah, every country does that.
So if you didn't consider in broadcast, in post or anything else, or studios?
Well, okay, so see, that was an interesting thing. When I came back, I had a couple of options because of the freelancing work that I was doing and the industry connections I had a chance to do some marketing related work. And at the same time, also a lecturing position opened up. That's actually how I know Adrian.
Yeah.
So we lectured together at Ocean Institute for a while. I did some marketing work. I ran some marketing campaigns with a boutique agency called Social Grooves. And yeah, one of the campaign that I ran for them was for Domino's. And we ended up getting award nominated regionally. So that really began me going from being a creative down towards this whole marketing side of things. That started the career transition.
Yeah. And it's fascinating. It's really, really interesting to hear your story of how, transition from musician to producer to this, and now you're into marketing. Yeah.
It sounds cool, but it's really hard to explain to hiring managers. They'll be like, the first 5 years of your career are events and music. Why is there so many career gaps? Why do you change jobs so often? I was freelancing. I was doing a lot of freelance work. A lot of this stuff is not on paper. It's some of it, like, especially if you do like if you're crew for TV, at half the time they just pay you cash and that's it.
Yeah, there's no record.
I mean, there is record. You just have to sign the pay stub saying, I took my $100, or like I took my however much money you got paid, and that's it. That's the end of it. That's the end of the paper trail.
Some challenges to that sort of career path as well. Huh?
Oh, so many. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, well, we'll save on maybe some of the advice on what you would do differently. We'll talk about it later.
Oh, man.
Let's segue into the some of the interesting part. Let's talk about the Spooky album, Spooky Wet Dreams album.
Let's go. What do you want to know?
So, well, I want to know everything. Right? So, I mean, it's also for whoever's watching this, maybe it's a good thing to plug the album as well. Like how many tracks are there and all that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, this is Spooky's second full-length album that we worked on. We began writing it kind of the end of 2020. So end of 2020, we put out a single called Tutur Dengan Bulan that was kind of like a bonus track to the previous album. We released that, and then we said, hey, we're going to go on hiatus. We're going to take a break, clear our minds and all this stuff. So we did that. We went on a break towards the end of 2020, and then we said, hey, let's just start, taking this time to, refresh ourselves, because we were gigging like crazy in 2019. We played almost every week. In fact, I think there were some weekends where we played Saturday and Sunday, different cities. That was exhausting. Like, that was really exhausting. So 2020, we took that as a reset. 2021, we started off the year 2021 with everyone brought different ideas and different song snippets. Sometimes it could just be a set of chords, or it could be just hey, I've got this melody, I don't know what to do with it. It's just like a voice note recorded on your phone kind of thing. So everyone brought all their stuff, and what we did was we booked out an entire house, an Airbnb. And we just locked ourselves in there for a whole weekend. And we wrote music. We just wrote a lot of music. Whatever song ideas we had, we tried to flesh it out. And this ties back to what I said earlier about all the there's no better time to be a producer, because all these mix-ready tools are there. We didn't waste as much time as we did on the last album, tone hunting. We would just drop in these mix-ready samples. Sounds 80% of what we want. Okay, good enough. Let's start writing. That was it. We would come up with drum parts. Everyone would contribute. And we adopted something that we've seen some bands overseas do, is you don't have to play your instrument, right? So if there was a song and it sounded better with someone else playing the guitar instead of me, we let that person play the guitar. If I had an idea for a bass line, I would record it, and then Sal, our actual bassist, would come in and record it. We compare both takes and be like, okay, who has the nicer groove or nicer feel to it, things like that. So we went and did that. And I think each member set out with different objectives of what they wanted to do on the album. I'm not sure what everyone else's was, but mine was, I challenged myself to play as little as possible on this album. So the running stereotype, right? Lead guitarist has to have the most parts, has to have the most players, has to play the most complex parts. I went into this album saying, I want to play as little as possible. It's also a subset of laziness, because I wanted to do less during live shows. But I think it all worked out in the end.
And how was the experience of what you did during that 1 week at the Airbnb? It must have been really interesting, because I also had a similar experiences of making albums that way, and I must have been fun, right?
It was fun, but my God, sometimes the tempers did flare. I mean, this is natural. Creatives, musicians, we all have like very strong emotions when it comes to it, and we have very strong convictions about things. we actually did have cameramen recording it. I'm not sure if they recorded the fight.
Right. Oh, okay.
Me and Z almost got into a fight because we disagreed over how the structure of a song should be. Yes. Like we both just had to like storm off in separate directions of the house and cool off and stuff like that. And then basically after that session, everyone's like, you know what? I think we're done for today. We'll pick this up tomorrow morning. Let's give everyone let's give everyone the night to cool off. But it's interesting. It's really, really interesting, the experience.
Yeah. So, I mean, who came up with the idea? Did you like come up with this idea of, hey, let's rent this Airbnb? And
I think it was a collective band decision, but I think the whole band has wanted to do something like this since the early beginning, because you've heard stories of how, the Rolling Stones did it. They rented a mansion somewhere in California and did it. Led Zeppelin,
a lot of bands.
Led Zepp 4, the fourth album, legendarily recorded on site.
Yeah, in the castle's mansion, that's how they get their drum sound.
And, recently Foo Fighters with that Studio 666 documentary / mockumentary where it's like, let's book a house and record there, even though it's So I think it has been something in the back of the band's mind. So when we got the chance to do it, we jumped at it.
Cool. How did you guys set up? What was the setup like over there?
Right. So the living room, we left it as the living room. I mean, we moved some furniture around here and there. So one interesting feature about that place was there was like this library / powder room. I don't know what you want to call it. It was like it's not a hallway, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
It's like just this long room that was not part of any of the other rooms, right? So like you have just all the bedrooms around the living room, and then there's just like this one random rectangle there. And we're like, okay, this isn't a bedroom. No one's using it. I went in there. I just like clapping my hands, singing, like hearing, this place, because of all the random bookshelves and things, it was actually quite a dead space. It was quite balanced. So I was like, let's just set up here.
That works. That's your vocal.
No, actually, we didn't do vocals in there.
So you set up the whole recording setup?
We didn't do vocals at this venue.
Oh, okay,
so we did all song structures. Vocals would just be, we'll play back the song and Z would be singing, he would sing along to it. He'd be there with a notebook writing down lyrics and things like that, coming up with ideas, either with a notebook or typing lyrics into his phone. And the band, we brought so many guitars and basses. I think we used like 9 or 10 different instruments on that album. Yeah. And then it was pretty much a matter of, we didn't restrict ourselves to saying, I only have this guitar, therefore I will only play this. For example, my whole life up until this album, I've been using Jackson guitars. Like if you've ever seen me on stage, I'm holding a white Jackson. It's going to be a white Jackson.
Yeah.
And I have a few of them. So this album, we have like a disco song. It's called Digital Crush. You can't play. I'm playing disco on
like a double humbucker.
On a double humbucker, metal guitar, rock guitar. It's a Jackson with a Seymour Duncan JB Jazz. It's not going to sound great.
Yeah.
So for this album, I have a Stratocaster.
Yeah.
So playing disco, playing funk with that Strat fourth pickup sound. Oof. Yeah, so we brought lots of instruments. We switched it up. Everyone was playing different instruments. Everyone was playing different stuff. We were all coming up with ideas. I had my little Focusrite Claret, which is the interface I use. So I just run laptop into Claret, into speakers, then multiple inputs. Everyone's just going in and out of the different inputs. Keyboards just MIDI'd in, and we're just switching patches on Serum or Halion 1 or whatever other synths we were using.
Yeah.
So we just dive right in. Anyone has an idea, it's like, quick, record that before you forget it. And then we just keep doing that. So we used the studio as, like an extra instrument this time. We were now composing songs in real time as the whole band, instead of what the previous album was just the whole band gets into the studio and you jam the song as a band. You're figuring out your parts while everyone else is playing. But when you change your part, but everyone else is playing the same, it sounds good to you, but then now someone else will change their part and all kind of that.
Yeah.
So we worked out all those kinks by just tracking everything as is.
Fascinating, interesting, yeah. And I definitely, agree, that way of working. I've experienced it myself. It's really fun. It's really, really productive as well. Yeah. Although I never got into any kind of fights or disagreements with anyone else, lah. You know, yeah.
I think it was also a really stupid disagreement. Like, I don't remember which song it was, but it just
Yeah.
literally came down to how many bars of repetition in a transition.
Yeah.
I think that was literally what we argued about, whether it was 2 reps or 3 reps. And it just got so heated. I don't even know why it got heated. but
Yeah,
it
now,
did.
now in hindsight, you know, it just seems so trivial, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, like we were both snapping at each other and the whole band's like, guys, calm down. But in retrospect, I really don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's probably not such a big deal anyway.
I don't even remember whose version became the final version of the album. If I'll be honest, I don't even remember. Yeah.
But all good, man. You know, whatever the differences you all had, and in the end, you put out the record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, of course, after that Airbnb, you did transition to a few other places. You guys did do some additional recording, like here as well. This is, of course, you know, I heard some of the stuff that you did. Yeah.
So I would say the album was about 60% done by the time we finished that one weekend. Like we had all the structures. Okay, so interesting bit. On the album, the 4th track, Penang, we had everything except for the bridge. And we know how we want to end the song. Now I just need a bridge between the 2nd and the 3rd chorus.
Right.
We didn't have the bridge. And we didn't have the bridge for the longest time. So that's little bungalow session happened the start of the year. And as you know, 2021, we had that massive lockdown middle of the year. We couldn't write anything. So, I mean, like, I would just edit and be like, hey, how about we add this layer? But it's pretty much just me slapping stuff. Or me or Arif, our keyboardist, would slap extra keys on top of something and send it to the WhatsApp, and that was it. So, you know, come towards the end of the year when when things are starting to open back up again, that's when we booked some studio time here. So we came in here and we pretty much just finished off whatever was remaining in terms of songs, song structure. So that's how you got to hear the almost finished version of Corn Cake.
By the time I think all of it was pretty much fleshed out already, right? All the song arrangements, yeah.
I mean, there was a couple, right? Like, for example, like I said, Penang was missing its bridge. Then we were in here just kind of like, okay, guys, we just need a bridge. Then I think like we cranked it out in like an hour, and we were like, yes, okay, it works. Famously, this is even the funnier one. Barai, the song also from the album. It sounds like your 2000s radio rock kind of song. You know, it's fun, it's jumpy, and the lyrics are about being a jaded young working adult in the workforce. Right. The music is what we grew up listening to as kids, but now we're adults. We're listening to the same music, but the lyrics are all just being about burnt out. Right. The irony. So those lyrics were written 12 hours before we recorded them. What happened was Z had a really long day at work and he was just exhausted, and we're like, guys, Saturday we're meeting up at 21:05. We're just gonna, you know, finish tracking off what we have. So we came in, Z, this is the only song that doesn't have lyrics yet. Do you have anything? He's like, yeah, I wrote this last night. Handed over his phone, we all read it and we start laughing, get in the booth. You have to do this.
Speaking of which, I mean, writing is Z's forte. It's one of his bread and butter, isn't it? That's one of his.
He's a wordsmith. He's a through and through creative by heart. He's a wordsmith. I would say the lyrics are 99.9% him. As producer, I'll come in and say, okay, this is a bit wordy. Can you find alternatives? Or this doesn't flow well. It reads well as lyric, but when you try to sing it doesn't flow well. Can you find something, a new phrasing or something like that? I'll come in and do little things like that. Or maybe he'll come in and say, okay, there are 2 words that can go in this space. Do I choose A or do I choose B? That kind of thing. But the overwhelming majority of the lyrics are him. They come from his heart.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things. You know, besides, you know, his lyrics are so. It's great to have a writer who's also the vocalist in the band. Yeah.
I mean, I feel that's like a really natural progression because, you know, as the vocalist, you need to have that creativity. You need to have that flair on stage, and if you don't, I mean, like, not everyone can have the career of Noel Gallagher standing with the hands behind the back and just kind of doing that on stage, right?
Yeah.
Your vocals has to be somewhat flamboyant. They have to be able to have this energy on stage.
Yeah.
And as a natural creative, I think Z definitely has a lot of that.
All right. So fast forward, all the recording is done, and then you mixed it back at home. Right?
No, I didn't mix it. So
okay.
I've reached that point where I admit that my mixing is just not good enough for a commercial production. So we agreed and we budgeted this before we even started recording the album. Like we set aside a budget. So we sent our mixing and mastering to a guy called Wong. Instagram at Mix by Wong. I actually don't know the rest of his name other than just Wong, right? So he mixed and mastered the album, and basically because I'm also somewhat an engineer myself, so I just gave him really, really, really detailed mix notes. We shared him I think a 20-page Google Doc with just mix notes and just saying this is what each song should sound like, and extremely detailed. So I'm not sure if he was happy or if he was annoyed, but he nailed every sound that we were looking for, the energy on certain songs. And yeah, we're really, really happy with how the production turned out on that one. Yeah.
Please, if you were watching this, do reach out, man. We'll have a little chat with you one day.
I can connect you with him if you want.
Yeah, sure. Definitely Malaysian, right?
Malaysian, yeah, local.
Okay. He's like, who is this? Yeah. No, I've seen his tag.
He works on a lot of stuff with our label mates. So we're currently with not technically not label mates, management mates. So yeah, we're being managed by Breaking Music right now. So a lot of the other artists under them also are being mixed by him.
So fast forward, album is out. When was the release date? Official release date? Okay, never mind.
You're killing me here. I don't actually remember. Because I know we finished recording basically on the production, everything that before it left me, we were done with that in October, November, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
We sent it off for mixing, and we didn't release the album until 6 months later. We went through all the mix notes, mastering iterations, everything, the whole 9 yards, planned out the whole marketing campaign. Then only, I think we released Suru in January, February, March, something like that, very, very early this year. Then we put out Beza about a month and a half later, and then the album came out right around Raya time, which would have been May, something like that.
I mean, I'm like you as well. When it's done after the production stage, it's when it comes to whatever the marketing, the release, it's okay, I'll let other people handle it. It's
wait, so you also do that? Okay, yeah.
No, yeah, it's just too much to think about,
That's the roles in the band. So the agreement is that I look after everything on the music side. Yeah. So that was exactly what I did. I handled the production. When the band has mixed notes, we learned that don't let the band talk directly to the engineer. The band talks to the producer, then the producer talks to the engineer. Otherwise, the band will use terminology that makes no sense.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. So I collected all the feedback. We discussed everything internally. Then only I would say, okay, here's our mixed notes. Just tweak these little bits here and there.
And that is a very important thing, right? For all the bands who are listening and watching to this, if you are working in this process, you need the communication channel needs to be clear and direct. That's very, very important.
There are very, very specific terms used in audio engineering. And if you use the wrong term, you're going to confuse your poor mix engineer.
Yeah.
And don't send a mix notes that say make it pop. Okay, just don't. Don't ever do that.
So what else is in store then for Spooky? You're telling me that you got some couple of things coming up?
Yeah. Okay. So for Spooky, we've got this will already have happened by the time this airs,
it puts out.
But we have the Halloween show coming up this weekend. So just for those of you who are doing the math and keeping track, we're filming this at the end of October. Yes. So that is happening at the end of October. I think we've got maybe 1 or 2 more shows for the end of the year. But then we're planning our tour. So we wanted to do a tour this year. We really, really wanted to do it. But post-COVID, not all the venues are the same anymore, or we don't know who's where. So we started having to rebuild all these connections, finding out where we could do shows, who to do shows with. And we also want to do more stops that are not KL, The previous album tour, We did Penang, we did Ipoh multiple times, we did Seremban, we did Malacca, we did JB.
Pretty much the usual
No, but
urban centers.
we didn't do Kuantan. We didn't do East Coast. And we didn't do Sabah Sarawak. So this time around, we're trying to see if we can hit more states, more locations.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, I won't reveal who it is. We are negotiating to do a double headline tour. So there'll be another band coming with us and double headlining every show with us.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Well,
sweet.
I mean, technically they're more famous than us, so we're going with them. I don't know the logistics, but yeah, there'll be a double headline.
Yeah, you can tell all this off air later, off the record. Yeah, if you know. That's next year. That's coming up next year.
Fingers crossed. We haven't booked anything in yet, but everyone's we're working on it right now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward, man. Looking forward to it. Yeah. So when the time comes around, just update everyone. I follow you guys all over on social media anyway. I follow as many bands as possible and see what everyone's up to. Yeah. So we'll definitely look forward to it, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the the live music scene's definitely picked right back up ever since.
Sometimes it might be a little bit too much of a good thing as well. I feel
too many shows at the same time.
It's a little bit too many shows, which sometimes the problem it causes is that sometimes that there clash of events, dates clash, the gigs clash, and they start to cannibalize the audience from each other. We've sort of seen now, like some of the more recent festivals and some shows that actually. Okay, let's not talk about election. Election was one of the reasons why, right? But even before that, we were already seeing that some of these shows were not getting the sales or the response that the organizers expect. Because when everything opened up in April, May, right? And then all the shows, everyone went crazy. It's like everyone just got out of, the cage.
Yeah.
And all the concerts were sold out. People were saying that, wow, every gig is like sold out. Every concert is sold out. Zap is sold out. All the venues are sold out. So people were thinking that, okay lah, this easy way to make money. Let's organize concert. Sure, sold out one. But kind of after a couple of months, you get into September, October, I think audiences are starting to feel a little bit fatigued.
But I agree on that. But at the same time, it's also because ticket prices have gone up. Let's be real. Because especially at the start when it wasn't a full reopen, but it was still a partial reopen, a lot of the venues were operating at reduced capacity, right? You couldn't have 100% full sold out crowd in there. So their sold out in reality was actually only like 50 to 60% of max capacity. So it was really weird. Like I saw videos. I didn't go for this show, but I saw a video. The crowd was seated on plastic chairs like 1 meter spaced apart.
Right.
If you wanted to mosh, you could stand up and mosh in your spot, but you couldn't leave that spot. Like it was so surreal seeing that. It was so weird. It's like someone who's played in a metal band for 10 years. It's like, I'm used to seeing mosh pits, circle pits, wall of death. Let's go, And now everyone was just politely moshing in one spot.
Okay.
It was so weird. But could I take a quick toilet break?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. And then after that, we'll wrap. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. It will be a good time to do a little edit anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're back.
Yeah, indeed. Yep.
Okay, so on the little bit about we wanted to tour, right? Next year. Well, we wanted to tour this year, but the challenge we faced was that the cost of everything has gone up. The cost of living has gone up. Salaries have stayed the same. So what happens is, like you said, there's a lot more shows now, but at the same time, shows cost more to go to, which means at some point, people are going to becoming more selective of which shows they go to. So hopefully, this recession is a lot shorter than whatever people are predicting it's going to be. Fingers crossed, because as we've seen time and time again in Malaysia, when a recession happens, when people start tightening their wallets, the first thing that always gets hit is the creative industry.
Yeah. Entertainment. People cut down on their entertainment. Yeah.
And I mean, and not just the entertainment, right? I can say this because I have done audio for film and TV, but the first budget that always gets cut is not the F&B budget. It's not the catering. It's always the sound budget. It's always the sound budget that gets cut first.
Story of our lives.
Right? It's like, oh, we've got 10% budget reduction. Producer, figure out where to cut the cost. Audio budget. Always. So yeah, it's going to be tough. Definitely.
People definitely have asked that question. Is like, oh wow, now everything's open back again. And say like, it's hard to say, man. I mean, yeah, that it's cool. Things are seem to have picked up this year, but whether is this just going to be a temporary, flash in the pan? Whether is it just going to be, or whether is it going to be something sustainable for a long term, lah? That's hard to see, lah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh well, all right.
Okay, change topic. Let's try not to end this on a downer.
Yeah, and that is like a downer. But no. I mean, let's be cautiously optimistic. Be optimistic, but always, hopefully, I mean, the lessons that we've learned these past 2 years is really not to take anything for granted, lah. Yeah, we have to be really positive and be really happy and just grab all and enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. At least for me personally. But be prepared, lah. Have a plan B, have a backup ready. If things don't work out for the how you guys are going to plan, I'm sure you figure out. You guys will definitely figure out a way. And I want definitely, hopefully you guys will be able to put off a successful tour lah in 2023.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's got to happen. And hey, I want to will it into action, man. Not just Malaysia, okay? Take it out to outside Malaysia also.
Oof, I know hopefully we get to play regional where we'd love to do a show in Indonesia. I've played Indonesia before.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the craziest tour experiences of my life. Do you want to just quickly dive into that?
Oh, sure, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was in my metal band, Arc, at the time. Yeah. I was playing guitar for that. And I was also playing bass for another metal band called Kolbenfaust, founded by the late Greg Bajan. He just recently passed away.
Right.
Insanely talented. The name of the band is Kolbenfaust, and we named it after Greg's right hand because Kolbenfaust is German for piston fist. And this guy has a right hand that can fight Papa Hetfield. Like, come on, I would put money on him to win.
Right.
He's good. So we did like a double headline tour of Indonesia. We did 2 shows over a long weekend.
Yeah.
And Indonesia is wild, man. Like the live scene in Indonesia is unbelievable. And if there's any destination in Southeast Asia I would want to play again that's outside of Malaysia, Indonesia's top of my list. I will go back to Jakarta and perform anytime.
Well, fingers crossed that's going to happen for you guys.
I mean, these guys had never heard of us other than a couple of songs, right? This was in my metal band, and like we had whatever was on our YouTube, whatever was on our socials at the time, and these people moshed like Lamb of God was playing for them. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it.
My personal experience with that, has been somehow in our neighboring countries, lah. They seem to have this much more, I don't know, this much more love and appreciation for all this live music, man.
Yeah.
And just again from playing for crowds outside of, maybe it's a grass of the greener, on the side thing or whatever. Not to come off across saying that, Malaysian audiences or playing back home is, not as cool, not as great. They're great, they're awesome as well.
Yeah.
But it's just something special.
It's a different energy they have there.
Different, yeah. Very different. Personally, I've played a lot in the Philippines. They're crazy too. I think I can relate lah, to how you experience. I think they're very similar. The Indonesian and the Filipino, kind of the crowd
energy
going
for live
energy.
music,
It's insane. And we've played like shows in like, the mall areas. They have the convention areas, which is like on the top floor of the mall. Oh boy, when they start moshing, the whole building is like shaking. It's like, is this going to like collapse? But
I've
anyway,
experienced
yeah.
that once, but it was actually locally.
Mm,
We played a show in Ipoh. I don't remember what's the
yeah.
venue name.
Mhm.
But basically, it was an upstairs venue in Ipoh. Once the
Right.
crowd got going, I was just like, guys, I'm not sure if this building is still going to be here by the end of the set.
Yeah, you literally feel the full
feel,
floor was like
yes.
moving when everyone was. But cool, man. I'm sure you got a lot of stories of all that as well, man. But thanks for taking the time to maybe it's a good place to wrap it up. I think.
Yeah.
Unless you got anything else to plug, anything else to share. Oh, you mentioned you're working on something else, right? Besides Spooky, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, no, I can't really plug it because we've got like 80% of a song right now with nothing
Yeah.
up. We've got no socials, but basically, me, Scott, and Mahesh, three old, elderly senior metalheads, are now trying to discover, is there life after metal? What do you do? So, I mean, the running joke is you start off as a rock, listening to rock, progressively getting heavier until you reach the deepest, darkest depths of metal, and then the next progression is lo-fi hip-hop. So like we're playing like we're writing songs that we've never written before, and it's the opposite of heavy right now at
And
this
that
point.
project the title is called Life After, right?
Well, I was trying not to spoil that, but yeah.
Oh, well, you already
We'll
said
go with
Life
it.
After Metal, so
Yeah,
Life
but I didn't
After.
outright say it. But yeah, okay, yeah. The
Okay,
project's
right.
called Life After, which is just exploring what's life after metal.
That's very cool. I mean, it's always exciting to always hear what everyone's up to. Everyone's doing their own cool thing. Besides that, so how do we reach you? How do people reach you?
Right. You can find me on all my socials. It's all at Matt Liew ARC. I've never taken the band name out of my name.
Wow,
I got all these usenames like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and I just never changed them.
Yeah.
So it's still at Matt Liew ARC on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. I am. Can I swear on this, or you just bleep it out, right? Yeah, I'm a prolific shit poster. So if you want your daily supply of fuck work memes, I'm right there for you, because that's all I post right now. It's like my social media is just anti-work. If my boss is seeing this, I love my job. Don't worry, it's just humor. This is just how millennials do humor. I love my job.
But we'll make sure that they won't hear it. They're not watching this, right?
We don't know. We'll find out.
Spooky's. What about Spooky's socials, website?
Spooky is just at Spooky Wet Dreams. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram as well. We have a TikTok, which every band, every artist has to do a TikTok now, but I am not in any of the TikTok videos. I'm in one of them because every time the band needs to shoot content for TikTok, I just so happen to be busy. It's not intentional, but it's just happened that way. So I hope to appear in more of the content soon in case people will be like, is Matt still in the band? I'm like, I'm still here.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much for doing this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's
It's
wrap
been a
it
pleasure.
up.
Yeah.
Once again, you're right. Thanks for sharing, your story, right? Your own personal experience of getting a start in music, how it has taken you, and where this whole crazy ride has taken you up to right now. And I'm sure hopefully there's more to come.
Yeah, hopefully. Awesome.
All right then. So let's wrap it up. Okay.
All right.
See you then. Bye-bye.